I want to thank everybody that's joining us today and all of the people that may be joining as we get this party started. So thank you for hopping on the community wealth building with the Kepper Institute session, and then thank InnoPower, the platform that is hosting this great event. I'm Diop Adisa. I'm part of the Kepper Institute, and I'm gonna start just with giving a little background on Kepper Institute and our community wealth building initiative. So, Kepper Institute was started in 2003 formally. We have been doing some mentoring and community building work prior to that, but it started in 2003, and it really grew out of a family effort to support the young African American males in the families. I was one of those young African American males. I had a childhood friend, cousin, and other young black men in my neighborhood that we all just needed some support in terms of academic enrichment, entrepreneurship skills, work readiness skills, critical thinking skills, just a set of skills that would give us the best chance of growing wholly, collectively, and then moving through society in a way that would give us an enriched experience as black men of color. So that's kind of the skinny version of how it came to be. Fast forward to now, we've spent a lot of time building enterprises, having hard community conversations to address particular issues that we find ourselves having. Um, I got a text here said there's no volume on the workshop, so I'll just put that out there to see if that can be addressed. And I'll keep rolling, and if people have missed this present piece of the presentation, we can circle back before we conclude. Um, but where was I at? Oh, so a lot of time spent in the entrepreneurial realm as a tool for leadership development and to solve community problems, and then provide a sense of self-determination and empowerment through demonstrating what we can do with what we have, heavily based on relationships and human centeredness as the foundation of our work. And it's always been an intergenerational approach. And so basically that's pretty much some of the grounding of how we move. Today we have a few different presenters, and you can see from the slide, and I guess they can introduce themselves as they speak, and we'll keep it flowing. So I believe the next presenter is Magette, and I'll pass it to her if she is on. And I don't see her on here. So I will pass it to, let's see who's next in line. Damon, I believe.
Hello, audio check. Can everyone hear me? Thumbs up. All right. If you can't hear me, just shoot a quick message and I'll give some conversation context about Kepper. Kepper we're a grassroots organization with a history of engaging those affected by social economic problems and creating their own solutions through agency. We've been doing this for nearly 20 years, and this is what we call Alchemy, community wealth building in action. So what is community wealth building? How we frame community wealth building is through kind of 4 community-based capital pillars: cultural capital, financial capital, intellectual capital, and social capital. So the work that we do with our social entrepreneurs and in community is through these initial pillars of what we call community wealth building and social relational capital. Of course, we kind of govern everything that we do from a principle standpoint: unity, community reliance, determination, collective ownership, and shared wealth, collective work and responsibility, purpose, culture, and vision. So that's one critical point in terms of how we even move the work forward from a human-centered approach. So what you'll look at collectively as well is One of our programs, one of our community wealth building or alchemy programs in the space is democratizing our data. And recently, the youth in that program did a study in central Indianapolis looking at the recent COVID-19 impact on small business of color. And we just consistently see discrepancies, issues, chasms, if you will, of what we face in central Indianapolis alone through Black and brown businesses in terms of how they've been impacted by COVID and even prior to that. And this is just one city amongst many. And so identifying that this is a true issue that, again, with the alchemy mind state of how do we solve our own solutions and issues. What that looks like for us is building out the Alchemy ecosystem, of course, including our principles and pillars for community wealth building. It also includes a human-centered development approach where we have intergenerational individuals and members and fellows in the program to share lived experiences, and at the same time building cooperatively owned systems of agency, resilience, and empowerment. And we kind of look at that into 3 phases in the ecosystem, which is our collection of alchemy programs, which also includes the Alchemy Social Enterprise Resource Center, as well as some of our other programs that we'll talk about later, like democratizing our data. It also consists of our Kepper Integrated Fund, and then of course looping in community into that ecosystem. And so that's where we spend a lot of our times in terms of building relationships, and also in terms of how we shape the intentionalities of each one of our programs in Kepper, as well as the outcomes and impacts that we measure. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the Kepper Alchemy program model specifically. Kepper's alchemy programs are rooted in deep relationship building, personal mastery, and human development. That's always been central. It's in our mission statement since the early 2000s. And what that looks like is a mix of various alchemy programs. Programs include Cafe Creative, Democratizing Our Data, our Community Controlled Food Initiative, Growing Good in the Hood, our Community Land Trust programs, our Kepper Construction Cooperative, and a host of other programs. One of the pillars and anchors to our Alchemy mix of programs in our ecosystem is the Alchemy Accelerator and Incubator program. We launched our first cohort in 2020 and are standing up our next cohort in July of 2021, and we'll do 2 sessions this year. And then that naturally grows into our Incubator program so that we can continue to build a long-standing relationship with the social entrepreneurs, nonprofits, creatives that go through the program. And then lastly, a large part of that is our Alchemy Small Business Resource Center, located on 38th and Illinois here in Indianapolis, Indiana, which offers as a place for workshops, seminars, as well as co-working spaces and individual business operating spaces. I'll pass it over to Deidre to talk about community building.
Thank you so much, Damon. So I want to continue this theme of community wealth building that Damon touched upon. And as we talked about, KI really sees community wealth building in this holistic sense in terms of our programs, such as democratizing our data, as he mentioned, and the Incubator, Alchemy, the Incubator Accelerator. And we're also looking at carrying this theme through to the investment fund, the Kepper, that Nicholas will talk about a little bit later. But before talking about that, I did want to talk a little bit about how we're defining community wealth building and how we use that in terms of the selection criteria for the businesses and social enterprises that the fund will invest in, and also the types of investors that we're seeking for the fund. So we're looking from both sides, building the wealth of the entrepreneurs themselves and the people that they employ with a good living wage, and then also community members who would like to invest in the fund, in the businesses. So, businesses should not only be financially viable and sustainable, of course, but we're also looking for businesses that can create community wealth by providing critical goods and services to the communities, such as healthy food, affordable and safe housing, childcare, education, health services, creative expression, all of those things that a community needs to be wealthy and healthy, provide living wage jobs, transfer skills and knowledge, especially to youth, and also businesses that invest back into the community by sourcing locally from other businesses that are in the community. As I mentioned, we're also seeking to build wealth by providing community members an opportunity to invest in businesses and social enterprises and to earn potentially making an attractive return over time. This concept of community investment funds has been deployed in several cities across the country, and they've been used to help revitalize distressed neighborhoods by supporting businesses often led by people and women of color. And they've also done this by pooling small amounts of money from the community, even as low as $100. And those pools of funding, have been used to open up grocery stores and food deserts, build affordable housing, launch worker cooperatives, enhance energy efficiencies of old commercial and residential structures. So KI, this is very much in line with our 17, 18-year history of investing in communities and living out these goals of these objectives of community wealth. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Nicholas, who will talk more about the Kepper Integrated Fund model.
Thank you, Deidre. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nicholas Johnson, and I provide some fund management and fund modeling and investment advisory services. And what we're going to talk about today is specifically the Kepper Integrated Fund model. We're going to talk about the different components of it in terms of the concept of creating an integrated fund capital that's also not only integrated on the sources of capital that actually fund the fund, which are basically looking at all of your traditional institutional investors that would fall in that category, whether it's banks, insurance companies, hedge funds. We also look at relationships with family offices, and then we also look at, of course, net worth individuals. We also integrate into that capital philanthropy, foundation dollars, and then we get to the individual level, which is where we start working with both accredited and non-accredited investors at the individual level. So you got high net worth individuals, and then you also have individuals who are able to invest, but by state and federal regulations are limited in terms of how much they can invest based on their income and net worth. So we have a broad range of different investors, and then we use that integrated model to then also create at least, we have 5 different tools that we use in terms of what we would call just different products that we're going to use in the fund that match up according to the sources and the uses of the entrepreneurs and nonprofits and developers who want to try to access the funds. So we have the KIF Angel Fund, which looks at both passive and active investments. So there presents opportunities to support scale growth for companies and nonprofits of color. Then we have the KIF Fund, which is a charitable loan fund where we use creative debt and equity and loan instruments, and then also look at opportunities to co-lend and co-invest with other financial institutions such as credit unions, banks, other CDFIs, other funds, fund of funds who are looking to invest in just funds themselves, but not specifically in a type of project or a business. And then we also have the last component, which is the Kheprw Institute community impact grants. So with the grants, these are grant funds that we provide as a source of equity to support, again, nonprofits, companies, developers of color who may or may not be ready to take on debt, or that simply need equity as a component rather than debt in its traditional form. The community impact model itself, we look at community equity and ownership. So it's very important to us in terms of who owns the business or the project itself. We look to try to develop livable and buildable wages. We incorporate financial literacy. We look at the type of jobs, the skills training that is offered by the businesses and entrepreneurs. We also look at industry sectors. Right now, we're focusing on health, the sustainability sector, of course, primarily environmental, energy, technology, and then we look at education and construction sectors. And then, of course, real estate is always one of the foundational pillars in terms of as an asset class for investment, agriculture and affordable housing, and the creative sector in terms of media, digital media, visual arts, theater, music. The goal for the KIF is to build a fund of about $20 million. We've given ourselves a 3-year target based on the way we've developed our model, with a year 1 goal of 5 million, year 2 goal of 10 million, and a year 3 goal of 5 million as well. So again, the impact goals are fourfold: provide minority-owned businesses that are traditionally found in disinvested communities with capital. And we're looking at businesses of all sizes, of course. We're looking at startups. We're looking at small businesses that have been in business for less than 3 years, which would be still considered a startup based on certain definitions, whether through SBA, HUD, or other financial measures at state and local level. And then we're also looking at trying to increase the number of minority-owned businesses that are also in those same disinvested communities, provide opportunities for local residents to also invest, which is part of those investor pools that we spoke of. And then lastly, we want to try to create community wealth through collective business investment and ownership. So we're looking at models and businesses that where there's profit sharing and where there's also proportionality in terms of ownership. So lastly, I'd like to say that one of the key economic indicators that we've tracked and that we've seen that could be a real difference maker is that if Black-owned businesses alone were able to reach employment parity with all other businesses, not including Black-owned, there would be 600,000 new jobs that would be created, and about $55 billion would be added to the economy. So let's invest in local businesses of color. Thank you. With that being said, that we're gonna shift back over to Diop, and we're gonna begin our Q&A period.
All righty. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I believe just enter them in the chat and I can read them off. Let's see.
I did see one question, and I'm not sure if Diop can hear me, but
I don't see any. So let me.
I see one at all as well. It says that this is very well prepared and useful information. Will the PowerPoint be available for attendees?
Yeah, I'm sure we can make it available. If you drop your email, we can get that to you.
Maybe while we wait for the questions to come in, one of the things that in order to keep the information flowing, one of the things I neglected to do is to introduce myself. And so, maybe we can do a quick round of introductions so people know who we are on the call and how we're related to KI. Magette, you want to go?
Yes, I can start. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you all. I am Magette Mai. I started with Kepper back in September. How I got into Kepper was through IUPUI because I am currently a student there. I am studying organizational leadership with a minor in human resources. So I was through the work study program. Once that ended, which I talked to which is executive director, they hired me on for the summer too, which is awesome because since I joined this group of people, I've never felt more welcomed in a diverse community, especially just being a Black woman as well. It's kind of hard to find a space you can actually fit into. So this space gave me like a lot of that, and I'm learning every day ways to better myself, and just not, internally, but externally as well. And just like the community, great people. So I'm just looking forward to where else Kepper is going to take me. I'm very happy to be here, and sorry I didn't get the time to talk about community wealth building. I was having issues with my computer. But besides that, I will go ahead and pass it over to you, Deidre.
I'm Deborah Fair James. I'm one of the original board members of KI. I guess when we first started to, as Diop was saying, kind of take this from a collective of friends and family and youth empowerment to actually starting a formal nonprofit with a proper board and tax filings and everything else. I joined the board then. My mother is Paulette Fair. She's one of the founders of Kepper as well. So I've always been moved by the mission. I'm originally from Indianapolis. Elementary, middle school, high school. Went to university in Indiana as well, and so have that connection to the community. And my background is in engineering, and for the last really 20 years, more so business and investing internationally. So the opportunity when Nicholas and Pambano Oishi came together and wanted to launch this integrated fund that is right up my alley, and I wanted to be able to contribute to Black folks really doing great things in my hometown. So just really pleased to be here. And Diop is the big boss, so I will kick it to him next.
That's funny. So I've been a part of Kepper from the beginning, the inception. My father is Imhotep, the executive director. My mother, Pabana, I call her the CFO. Mrs. Fair, my godmother. So really just born and raised in the Kheprw Institute. Played a variety of roles. Still learning and still learning to play new roles. But I think the main thing is just to listen and try to articulate the best I can our purpose, our mission, our philosophy, and to assist people in the organization and outside the organization to grow and develop to the best of our abilities and contribute those to community continually. So yeah, that's really been my experience, and it's definitely saved my life and helped me feel empowered no matter where I go and what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'll pass it over to Damon.
Hey, thanks, Diop. Yeah, no, I've been blessed to recently in the last year become a board member on Kepper, but I have always been both a part of the work and helping spearhead the work at the same time. Kind of came into the space in the early 90s as a youth in high school, and just like Magette said, in Indianapolis didn't see a lot of creative entrepreneurs of color that had opportunity or even space to explore that as a particular field, or even where they wanted to grow and kind of build their own capacity and define their own personal legend, if you say. So I just gravitated to it earlier on, and as it's kind of evolved over the course of the last 20 or so years, Kepper being kind of the mainstay of that, and kind of what we're calling that now, which is really key and critical. That I'm able to shed some light on some of the things that I've done as a creative entrepreneur, both in Atlanta and also here in Indianapolis with the studio that we run in Broad Ripple, which is really, it's just, and as I look in my early 40s, it's really for me a place to really express and kind of share with my, with people that look like me when I was 19, 20, making certain mistakes and being able to shed some light and give back to community. So overall, it's really been a legacy play. And at the same time, with us being intergenerational, we're able to learn from each other. So, I mean, and even now for me, my kids are in the program at the ages of 12 and 14. I came on at 18, 19. And so for them to be able to get these nuggets of information, he mentioned the development. It's a real blessing, and looking forward to, really expressing that and sharing that with Central Indianapolis, the region, and then globally. And I'll pass it over to Nicholas.
Hey, thanks, Damon. So my name is Nicholas Johnson. I've been working with Kepper since April of 2020. So a little bit over about 16 months or so, but it's been a great experience. My role primarily has been on the financial side in terms of advisory. I have about a 25-year career in financial services, managing public funds, nonprofit funds, and then just doing general investing both in different asset classes, whether stocks, businesses, and real estate, and a couple other different types of assets. So that's been my primary area of focus. Of course, in working with putting together the fund, opportunity also to provide some, be a point person on some of the legal aspects of it as well. So it's been a great experience. One of the things that really drew me to Kepper, of course, is that, as you heard just from listening to Deidre and to Damon and Diop and Magette, very family-oriented organization, and not everybody is basically coming from a place of blood relationship, but in terms of family, in terms of thought process, family in terms of the areas and focus and what the organization wants to try to achieve. So those things all really married up very well with kind of my background. I spent, about 15 years in Texas, another 4 years in Louisiana, and I've been here in Indianapolis for about 6 years. So it's been a real blessing to be a part of this and to play the role that I have. So look forward to working with individuals in the community on a community wealth building effort, and also whether that be on the investor side or small businesses, developers, and entrepreneurs who come through the Alchemy program, or who are already in business and are looking for an opportunity to try to access capital to grow their ventures. So thank you.
Nicholas, there was a question that says that you may be able to answer. What is the timeline for when we will start investing in companies?
That's a great question. I think I took a look over at the right, and I saw that too. So sorry I forgot to answer that question during my intro. But the timeline that we're on right now, we've already engaged the Indiana Secretary Securities Division. They've already given us our response, and what that did was that put us in position to provide a response back to them on our prospectus for the securities that we're looking at issuing. And their timeline, of course, once they did the initial review, was about 30 days. We took about maybe 2 weeks to respond. And at this point, we're looking at about another couple of weeks from them, which would put us on target to be legally operational here probably by the first part of July. And then from an operational standpoint, we would be looking at taking applications more than likely toward the end of July, early August.
Great. There's another question about the link for the KIF fund, and that was dropped in the comments, which is kepra.org/impact fund. There are a variety of other links in there, so please check those out. One of the things I'm also supposed to make sure that I remember to mention is that every 2 weeks we provide $500 grants to local entrepreneurs or artists, and so anyone can apply, and you just visit kepra.org/lead, and it's a lottery selection. So it's just basically we're randomly selecting. So definitely check that out. And you may be fortunate enough to get some funds to assist you or assist someone else. And then additional to that, we have a lot of different events on our platforms. So also check out Kheprw.org/events to stay engaged and see what we have coming down to support community.
I'd like to interject.
And if there are any other questions, please put them in the chat. If not,
I don't know if Diab, we're having some audio. I don't know if Diab.
Thank you for participating. Oh, I believe Dame is talking. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and I just from a clarity standpoint as well too. As we look at the Alchemy programming across all of our programs, the Alchemy Accelerator program, Alchemy Incubator program is an exclusive program from the KIF Fund program. And so you should have received 2 links in your chat where you can apply for the Alchemy program, Alchemy Incubator program, which is a 3-month program. At the same time, you can also apply through the KIF when that launches in July for support for your organization. And so they are sister programs and they do work with each other. And we cross support each other and cross support founders and businesses through both programs, but they are kind of 2 ways for us to be able to serve organizations that are getting started and getting ready, and those that are, have proven MVP, proven product, and been able to start to look at scale. And so driving those in the space as well too. So you should be able to have both those links there. I'm getting a lot of notifications. I don't know if you heard that, but I just want to make sure that was clear, that those are 2 exclusive tracks in our organization.
I have no idea what Damon said because I can't hear him, but I know it was great. And and if someone could translate, and we can keep it flowing.
All right.
All right, I think he close it out. Okay, well, thank you all for attending.
He just talked about the between the KIF and Alchemy, and then there's someone that says on here that they going to. Ken mentioned that we adopted him by her Arts Academy, and we'll ask him to connect with you as well. So thank you, Ken.
All right.
It may be, Diab, before we close it out, if I can ask folks to drop in the chat, as you saw from our presentation, when we're talking about community wealth, we're looking at not just wealth as in financial wealth, but also assets in the community. As I mentioned, like affordable housing and childcare and healthcare and so forth. And so, as we're kind of closing out, we're always looking to hear, from community members, what are those important, services, goods and services, the goods and services that are important to you. And so if you can drop those in the chat, and those are the types of, because that helps inform us in terms of the types of businesses that we support to make sure that we are helping to provide those things to the community.
All right, thank you all. We appreciate the time, and we hope you all have a great day. And this is a continual conversation and a continual practice as we walk towards changing the world for a desired future state that we're all working towards. So have a good afternoon.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.